The opinions and views expressed by individuals during this broadcast are their own. They may not be the opinions of this network, their groups, or other organizations they may be involved in.
Meditation, ganja, my brain. Ganja, we take away my stress and strain. Ganja, my meditation, ganja in my brain. Marijuana, take away my stress and pain. Ganja, my meditation, ganja in my brain. Marijuana, take away the stress and pain. Ganja is the medication, ganja is the cure. Police of them a fight the marijuana for sure. Purify me heavens and they make me feel pure. 100 way to Cali, we be bring it on tour. Ganja in the meditation, ganja in my clothes. No offense, I'm smoking another one around you. Ganja in the daily, ganja me currency. Ganja is the currency and daily pay. Give me revelation, it's not to get too much credit. It's been growing, so now that's what we call it.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Ganja News Update for this Monday, December the 8th, 2025, episode 148 here on NOK Network, the video news podcast focused on cannabis news being reported in mainstream media. And I'm joined again today by my amazing joint host, Tara Simpson over here, or shall I say, upcoming Glamity.
Yes.
Right over here. So
excited. Yeah.
Right.
My daughter is expecting her first at the end of April. So we've been mulling over titles for a little while, and we have now decided on Glamity.
That is awesome.
As, I have a nanny and I've had grandma and, all of that. For me, that's kind of where it stuck, was Glamity. Because I'm that glamorous grandma. And I'm super excited, and I so can't wait for this baby to come. Yeah, I'm stoked. So stoked.
And I think Glamity is so fitting because on the other side of things, you have a your business is called Mama Teas.
Right.
Mama Teas Medibles. So perfect thing. Glamity. Great.
Glamity. Yeah. This baby is going to be super spoiled. I just hope everybody knows that.
Right. So,
all grandchildren are treated with cookies and cuddles.
Great. Welcome to the grandparent club soon. I myself,
Yes.
I've got 3 of them, and one I've never met. They live in Alaska. They're 7. But the other 2, they're about 4 hours away from here, and they're just wee little ones, but they're sweet. And you're going to make an awesome grandma. I know that.
Yeah.
Or glamma, should I say? Glamma.
Yes.
Great.
Yes, I'm so excited. Never thought I was going to get any, because both of my children have been very adamant their whole lives they're never having children. But shit happens, and now one of them's having a child. Things have been, not planned, but very exciting for them, and they're super
Exactly. It always is exciting when a new life is coming into this world, and especially if it's a grandchild, right?
Absolutely. We're already well on our way to furnishing the baby's room already, and I've already got the crib. I've already got the bassinet and all sorts of other like baby swings, because those things are a lifesaver. My son did not sleep through the night till he was almost a year old. The only time that child slept was in a moving object, like a swing, a stroller, or a car seat. And that was what saved my sanity, because he was colicky. And as soon as you set him down on something that wasn't moving while he was asleep, that child screamed. Just how it was. But back then we only had wind up swings. So like you'd get a half hour at a time, and then you had to make sure that swing didn't stop, and you had to quietly wind it, and then curl back up and try and get back to sleep. But now they have plug-in ones, which is fantastic. Plug the fucker in, and that kid is good.
Yeah, there's timers, and I think some of them have different motion things too.
Yeah.
It's crazy the stuff you can get nowadays. Really,
Yeah. Very cool.
even when my youngest is 22, so it's been a while since I've been around some of that equipment, but it is amazing what
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah, my youngest is 25. So you can imagine, I mean, my oldest being 28. 28 years ago, baby shit wasn't the same. Like, you know, and it was
Exactly.
expensive. And so like a lot of the fancier items you just lived without and you figured it out. But now, I mean, you know, they've got everything for babies. It's wild.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It is. So, anyways, we could chat on forever here about grandchildren and that, right? But we're here for one reason here, and mainly, and that reason is to read our top stories in cannabis news. So I say let's get at it here, and we're going to do just that. So I'm bringing up the first story here. This one here is a short one, coming out of the University of Guelph. And goes on here to say, let's see, posted on November 18th. Expert available. Canada poised for cannabis tourism success, but regulations needed. A lack of regulations for consuming cannabis in social spaces in Canada is hurting opportunities for cannabis tourism, as well as the country's position as a global leader when it comes to legalization, says U of G economic geographer Dr. Susan DuPage. Canada is slow to emerge as a vital sector of the broader cannabis tourism industry due to a lack of regulations that support it, which is an obstacle for tourism and hospitality, she explains. DuPage is a postdoctoral fellow at the School of Hospitality, Food and Tourism Management at the Gordon S. Lang School of Business and Economics. Her research focuses on agritourism, particularly the impact cannabis legalization on Canada's tourism industry. Very interesting.
So this has been actually a big topic for a long time here in Canada because we've been calling for this to happen. You know, you can go to a bar and sit around and drink with your buddies, but you can't go to a lounge or a cafe and consume cannabis instead. That never made sense. And we did have pre-legalization. We had a lot of little lounges especially in the Toronto area, most of which closed during the apocalypse. So there really hasn't been the launch of anything more, but I do know that there's been a lot of groups here in Ontario, especially calling for this sort of action because it's needed and there's money that can be made here and people can consume safely in public and like there's so many aspects to this. So I'm really excited to see this.
It's a huge untapped market right now.
Absolutely. And there's so many people out there that I know within the cannabis space that have ideas for cannabis tourism and have business models kind of in place, but getting any sort of licensing or insurance or anything because it's the Wild West, they can't really launch anything. So, I mean, there's stuff that people want to do in this space and we should be allowed to do it, providing we follow some rules and regulations for safety. Just as a bar has to, right? Like you can't overserve somebody. I mean, that all makes sense to me because again, it is about, you know, keeping people safe, but
100%,
right? You got to allow it first. Let's prove them that we can do this.
Exactly.
So yeah, the global cannabis tourism market is expected to reach a value of $25.7 billion by 2023, according to Deloitte. In Canada, the cannabis market could reach $7 billion by 2025. We're in 2025. Okay. The growth that is driven by legalization, DuPage says, however, rules about public and social cannabis consumption are largely absent from Canada's legalization strategy. 100%. Canada Canada is a tourism destination known worldwide for quality, safe experiences, scenic landscapes, and wilderness that Dupage says could incorporate cannabis-centered experiences comparable to the wine industry, allowing for an agricultural product to be purchased and sampled where it's grown, provides significant tourism opportunities. Which absolutely, if someone has, say, a cannabis grow, why can they not have a farm to table store, very much like microbreweries do, where you can go and sample these local brews? Why can you not do that with cannabis, right?
Yeah.
Again, cafes, right? Maybe they have their own grow, but they want to start making their own goodies and coffees and different stuff that are infused. Why is it that we can't have that right now? It doesn't make sense. I mean, this was happening long before the government got their greedy little mitts in the mix, and then they just left it as the Wild West. Same with concert spaces. As we know, Alison Mearden attended a concert and was ejected from said concert by security because she was consuming cannabis, which she has a legal prescription for on top of. But alcohol was being served, but she wasn't allowed to consume cannabis, right? Why can we not have these cannabis consumption spaces right next to the beer tent, right? I mean, it should be allowed to happen.
Hashtag make it make sense.
Right.
Right.
So currently the Cannabis Act does not allow the public into cannabis grow operations, prohibiting the kinds of services wineries offered, like guided tours, tasting, food pairings, exclusive product purchases, and vineyard stays. There's also options for cafes, consumption lounges, wellness retreats that combine spa treatments with cannabis-infused therapies. And again, why can't you go to your even local massage therapist and bring your own cannabis cream and have them topically apply it during your massage? I mean, that could become a thing, right? And there could be a 100%. Licensed business, small business that provides those topicals that are available for use at these places, right? So again, there's such a wide untapped market for these experiences. Or if you go to a spa, which I mean, every year I generally attend a spa that I love, and I get like a whole spa package, and it includes like a soak in like different elements that, depending on the package you choose. Why could you not have a cannabis infused option where someone could soak in some infused Epsom salts and such, and then have an infused rub massage as part of their treatment, or CBD infused creams applied to their face, which, you know, have benefits? Like, there's all sorts of things that could happen in this space.
Right, exactly. And like I said, it's a huge untapped market. It's the cannabis market, but it touches so many different industries. Once you unleash the regulations, unrestricted regulations that are there right now, holding this back, like you said, spas, cannabis grows can bring in like tourism. Can you imagine having like an Airbnb type of thing at some kind of like craft cannabis grow type of thing, and you get to see everything in action, and then you get to taste some of the final product, and there's other things to do that you can learn about cannabis and all that, or all around there, the different workshops and stuff. Like, that would be cool.
Right.
That would be really cool.
Many years ago, right at the beginning of legalization, I was a part of a pilot project to teach people how to cook with cannabis. Yes. And it was Afria who had hunted me to be the first person to ever teach this class. It was just a trial thing, and it happened at a local farm. They weren't a cannabis grow, but they had like a cafe restaurant with meeting rooms that were functional for what we needed. And it was to teach them how to use cannabis and incorporate it into a recipe. Right. They had to bring their own product, right? Like, but they actually got to go home with a finished product, right?
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Why can
That's
we not
cool,
have
but
those at like your local Zares, which has the cooking rooms upstairs at some of them, or the Sobeys,
Yep.
right? They have those meeting rooms with the kitchens. Why can't someone like myself, who has knowledge in the industry, teach people how to do this?
right? Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And again, it's just regulations that are holding things back.
Absolutely.
That's so. Anyways, we're going to continue on here, moving along. A new frontier for cannabis in Canada. This has not stopped tourism suppliers, but prompted them to self-regulate and advocate for changes. Regulations will open up a new frontier for cannabis in Canada and simultaneously push a socially responsible and progressive agenda for tourism that benefits tourists and citizens alike, DuPage says, and develop policy retains Canada's position as a global leader in setting precedent for legalization. There's a quote here from DuPage. In all its forms, cannabis tourism is an educational platform for learning about the plant, understanding how it interacts with the body, making legal purchases, building community, and making visible cultural context in different locations. And I agree. I agree with all that. DuPage is presenting at the Cannabis Agritourism Futures Forum, Insights and Actions from International Research, a hybrid event taking place November 19th. So this has already taken place because this is a bit of an older story, but it was quite interesting, the story coming out of like University of Guelph. It is a free event for anyone interested in learning, and there's more information there. But as I said, the event's already happened. And Dr. DuPage is available for interviews. This research is funded by the Ontario Agri-Food Innovation Alliance, a collaboration between the Government of Ontario and University of Guelph. So there's people looking at this who have who have power to maybe
make
start the change of regulations, right? So
absolutely.
That's a pretty cool story.
I just hope they don't over-regulate it like they did with legalization, right? Because again, we need to allow the consumers to make responsible choices, right? If they can go to the liquor store and buy a 60-pounder of vodka and leave there with the store not knowing how much of that they're going to consume or anything else, why are we over-regulating cannabis to the point that like people can't even see the product they're purchasing? I mean, that has changed now. They're allowed to have opaque windows and stuff. Yeah. But again, I mean, so many regulations actually destroys an industry before it even gets started.
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Right? Like, again, these people are going to do it whether you condone it or not, but let's make it safe, but not overly safe, because we're not idiots, right?
Right.
Yeah. Contrary to stoner, labeling, cannabis people actually are very intelligent, can make rational decisions for themselves, even while on cannabis. Just saying. So hopefully we'll start seeing some changes in the new year, and we'll start seeing a little more cannabis tourism, because I think it absolutely needs to happen, and it can happen safely, and businesses can flourish, and our economy can produce jobs that way, right?
Right.
Something that's needed in this country.
Yep. 100%. So anyways, time is ticking on here. We've got a couple of stories here now that are both related. The first one is a notice directly from the province of Nova Scotia. This was reported on December 4th, 2025. So it's a few days ago. Province takes action on illegal cannabis sales. So this is a short story. The next story follows up with some response to this announcement from the province. And it says here, the province is taking more aggressive steps to address the growing public health and safety risks posed by illegal cannabis. Today, December 4th, Scott Armstrong, Attorney General and Minister of Justice, directed all police agencies in the province to intensify enforcement aimed at stopping illegal cannabis operations and report back on their activities. There's a quote here: illegal dispensaries pose a real threat to consumers, to youth, and to the integrity of our regulated system, said Minister Armstrong. We have already taken steps to confront these risks, but the challenge is evolving. So must our response. Protecting Nova Scotians means strengthening our efforts, advancing new measures, and shutting down the shadow market before it can cause harm to the public health and safety. Cannabis is legal in Canada, but only when sold through a regulated system. I would say that the only harm here that's being done is to the bottom line of taxes.
Absolutely, because cannabis is safe, whether it's from the illicit market or OCS, and in fact is probably safer from said illicit market than some of the stuff that has come out about what you're purchasing through OCS. I don't see it. I mean, the risk is there on both sides. As long as you obviously aren't going, to some guy in a back alley you've never met to buy your weed, which chances are you're not. Chances are it's your stoner friend who's like, hey, my guy's got this great strain right now. And that's how it goes, or through, online dispensaries, or there's numerous routes people use in the illicit market to get their cannabis. They're all still living and breathing. No one has died of an accidental Fenty overdose because of it. And believe me, street dealers aren't giving you fentanyl laced weed. I don't care what anyone says, but they're just not doing it. Because again, it's money, right? They're not going to give you something for free. Just saying, let alone that. If anything, the only risk is if your guy deals multiple substances is cross-contamination of use of this scale. So to clear that up for everybody, it does. It comes down to taxes not being paid and control, right? Regulations. Exactly. We don't want to undermine the regulations. Well, then change the regulations and make it more accessible to make it available. I mean, not everyone can afford dispensary weed. Sorry, they charge way too much when you can get it on the gray side of things for cheaper. And it's just as good, if not better.
Yeah.
Just saying. I've had some garbage OCS weed samples. I'm like, people pay for this?
I know. I've had some stuff that was just like, it just crumbled to dust.
Right.
So like, yeah. What is this?
Exactly. So where did we leave off here?
In Nova Scotia, the Cannabis Control Act.
Yeah. In Nova Scotia, the Cannabis Control Act designates the Nova Scotia Liquor Corp. Interesting that the booze people are in charge of the weed. And exclusive legal retailer of recreational cannabis, ensuring young people are safe, products are tested and traceable, and crime is not involved in the supply chain. A recent provincial review found that at least 118 illegal outlets operating across Nova Scotia, compared with 51 legal NSLC cannabis stores. Illegal dispensaries and their staff and products are not subject to oversight, training, testing, presenting significant risks to public health and creating opportunities for organized crime, money laundering, of course, because they're not getting their taxes, and even human trafficking. I don't agree with the human trafficking aspect. Unless, they're bringing in their buddies from out of country, which we've seen a lot of, not to sound racist, but like Asian grows, which are linked to other aspects of organized crime, right? But that's no different than any other organized crime group out there. So maybe that could be some of the human trafficking. They're bringing them in, paying them peanuts, treating them like garbage. But beyond that, I mean, most of them are there making some sort of dollar. Again, it comes down to not paying taxes on what, you know what I mean? And that's what the government has the biggest issue with. Because pre-legalization, how many stores operated in Toronto? And they got raided now and then, but they were open the next day. It was just a money game. Like, okay, well, if you're not paying taxes, well, we're going to bust you and charge you with this and give you a big fine, which they would pay because they're making bank on their cannabis, right? Like at the end of the day, they couldn't control it that way. It didn't work. So now they're like, well, we got to legalize it and we'll just tax it to death, and turn a profit.
In the city of Toronto, they've run out of money for busting illegal dispensaries. They're letting them go.
Right. And again, if they had just done it where, here's the regulations, anyone can have a dispensary, but we want everything tested. A lot of those, small growers that were in the industry providing products to dispensaries would have gladly sent a sample to a lab for the $80 that it cost to do it. And some of them were already doing it pre-legalization. They had printouts from labs because that's how they got dispensaries on the gray side of things to buy their products, right? Because people wanted to know what they were buying. So that was already happening, even with extracts and all of that. So that wasn't the issue, right? Like, if they had just said, okay, anyone can have a shop, you have to get a business license, you have to pay these taxes, you have to have insurance, security, whatever, they would have worked within those parameters. But they did it like an auction where like if anyone could apply, and and then it was like trying to find a space. And then of course everything's super expensive because it's cannabis. So like getting any sort of insurance, trying to find, like it would have been crazy. So they could have done it differently. They didn't. And now you've got the Wild West still operating because you guys fucked it up. Right. And we just want our piece of the pie that, we all started before you guys fucked it up. Just saying.
Right.
You're never going to end it. Like they don't understand that. You can do enforcement. Great. You'll get a bunch of them. But there's hundreds popping up all the fucking time.
Right. And this is different than alcohol.
Absolutely.
You're not going to stamp out with the illegal or illicit market in cannabis. You
couldn't even do it with alcohol during Prohibition. I mean, there were underground booze runners, man.
Right.
And this is going back long before I was even around. So if they hadn't learned from Prohibition, it hasn't worked. And the more regulations you put on us, the more we push back if we don't feel it's right. And I mean, great, it's recreational. What about the patients? Again, right? Exactly. They dropped the ball. Everything's been about recreation in the legal market. What about these patients? And there's a lot more patients than there are recreational.
So anyways, so the last bit of this here, there's just a little bit of quote here. It says, cannabis sold outside the regulated system can have serious health impacts. This is more about, more than enforcing laws. It's about safeguarding health and the future of our communities, and especially youth. Stronger enforcement sends a clear message that we will not allow unregulated cannabis to put Nova Scotians at risk. And that was by Dr. Robert Strang, Chief Medical Officer of Health. I suggest he gets to know this plant a little bit better and find out his concerns are not really
warranted.
I don't think.
Because again, last week we reported on the fact that youth consumption is actually down since legalization. So you can't even say that, it's putting youth at risk when legalization has literally dropped the youth population from accessing it. Right. Yeah. And again, most cannabis dealers in the gray market aren't dealing to kids. Sorry, they're just not.
Exactly.
Right? Like, I mean, maybe on the cusp of being 19, but again, if the worst your kid is doing is smoking weed, parents, you're doing okay. As long as they're doing what they're supposed to, going to school, working, whatever. If they're smoking a little weed with their buddies on a Friday night,
it could be worse things.
Count your blessings. They could be getting absolutely railed off of all sorts of substances and possibly dying. So, is it really putting youth at risk? No, I don't think so.
Exactly. So there's a few other resources there at the bottom. I'm not going to read those out. People can check those out if they want. Now I'm just looking at this next story because time is going on here. We've got about half hour. We're already in half
Because
hour.
we're chatty.
I know. Okay, we'll read through this real quick. It says a 5-minute read. We'll just read through it real quick. We'll try to reserve comment on it. I do want to get this information out. This one is coming to us from Global News, and this is in response to the article we just wrote. Or read rather. Micmac Chief's former Attorney General disappointed with Nova Scotia cannabis directive. This is by Lindsay Armstrong of the Canadian Press, and this was posted December 5th. It goes on here to say Micmac Chiefs and a former Nova Scotia Justice Minister are criticizing the provincial government for directing police to crack down on illegal cannabis and asking for First Nations support in that effort, saying the order undermines relations with the Indigenous peoples. I'm not going to try to pronounce that name, but the First Nation chief, Michelle Glasgow, said in a statement on Friday she and her council are appalled by the province's directive, which she calls a direct threat to their community safety. The province's actions through the Minister of Justice are acts of systemic racism and inciting hate against the Mi'kmaq people, labeling us the problem. And this narrative is absolutely disgusting, Glasgow said. Her comments are in reaction to Armstrong's directive on Thursday for all Nova Scotia police agencies to prioritize cannabis enforcement by identifying and disrupting illegal operations and distribution networks. The minister also wrote to 13 Micmac chiefs that requested their cooperation as they direct police to tackle illegal cannabis sales, saying there are at least 118 illegal dispensaries operating in their communities. However, later on Thursday, a spokesperson with the government said they would issue a correction to the chiefs, explaining that the province didn't know how many of the 118 stores are on or off First Nations territory. And Armstrong's directive has sparked criticism that the government may be interfering with law enforcement to target Indigenous communities. Wow.
And of course they are, but we won't get into that. We'll finish the story.
Right.
These are abuses of colonial power, and the government of Nova Scotia and the police agencies need to focus their policing efforts to combat illicit drugs, fentanyl, and opioids that are being brought into our communities and leaving devastating effects on our families, Glasgow said. The I can't pronounce that, also known as the Assembly of Nova Scotia's Micmac Chiefs, said in a statement on Friday they reached out to the provincial government before the 2018 federal legalization of cannabis to discuss its regulations in Micmac communities. They say the province rejected those requests, and the Assembly is disappointed by Nova Scotia's apparent lack of understanding of treaty rights and their right to self-determination. Although our perspectives may differ, it's important to state that the province does not govern our communities, Chief Terrence Paul said in a letter on behalf of the Assembly. This is a clear example of what happens when the province will not come to the table with us from the outset, an archaic government process we've experienced far too often in our communities, Paul said. Becky Durham, former chief minister who left the Progressive Conservative Caucus in October to sit as an independent, said Friday the province is undermining its relationship with Micmac communities while missing out on the opportunity to support businesses in rural areas through expanded cannabis regulation. Nova Scotia has the most, or at least one of the most restrictive cannabis regimes in the country. It's quite limited in terms of who is able to access that market. When the regime was created, there were concerns that would result in proliferation of illegal dispensaries because there's really not path to market for folks who are interested in becoming involved in a fully lawful way, Drum said in an interview Friday. Provincial law strictly controls the sale of cannabis, which is done through the Nova Scotia Liquor Corporation outlets, which has contributed to the boom in dispensaries. She said The government should update rules to allow broader licensing options, which would increase legal and safe access to cannabis, and then follow up with targeted enforcement against truly high-risk operations. Targeted enforcement against high-risk operations makes sense, but blanket crackdowns do not, Duran said. The province says there are 51 legal cannabis outlets across the province, one of which is located on an Indigenous reserve, with at least 118 illegal ones. When asked to respond to the criticism laid out in the statement from the chiefs, Durham Armstrong said the law applies equally to everyone, and any cannabis dispensary that is not operated by the NSLC is illegal, and they pose a serious risk to public health and safety. So again, if they get a license, then the weed they sell is fine. Right. Like, it doesn't make sense. And they don't govern Micmac. They are sovereign. So like, the government has no business telling them they can't have 118 illegal dispensaries, because they're not. That's their territory. You have no control over them. So, but trying to like strong arm them into like, well, we'll maybe look at different licensing options, and because again, they want their money. Right. And they want the control.
Exactly.
Sorry. But that's where else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't think I'm going to read the rest of the story, because it just goes on to say more stuff that was said and stuff, and comparing to Donald Trump, and there's a throwback at that. They read calling it frankly ridiculous and inflammatory. We're asking police to enforce the law. Armstrong also said we don't direct police on how they approach doing their job. So
but the police have no business on the reservation there. So as long as they're on reservation, they can't touch them. Like, go fuck your hat. You know. It's kind of like Tyne-Zanaga. They are sovereign as well. They have their own police force, and enforcement can't be done by OPP unless they are invited on to the reservation by the chief and council to do some sort of enforcement, like we saw in the summer. The big raid that happened there wasn't unsanctioned. It was sanctioned by the community because of organized crime that was, again, affecting their communities because of these people being there and having such a big grow. And again, they weren't people from the community. They were outside organized crime affiliates, that, found someone with a property, and, again, like, how it goes, right? But if you don't have the blessing of the chief of the reservation you're on, don't open a grow. Don't go there. Like it's their community, and they're trying to control their communities and keep their communities safe from organized crime and harder drugs coming in. And we all know what these communities have been through over the years.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right. And if they've treated you rights, go fuck your hat, government. Like
exactly. Well, anyways, we could go on forever on that too, but it's medication time.
That's right, folks. It's time to pay some bills. So stay tuned for a word from some of our amazing sponsors, and then we'll return with more articles making mainstream media news.
That's right. We'll be back in just a few minutes here on Ganja News Update on NOK Network. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to drop the marijuana moment story. We're going to do our last two stories that we have on schedule there. So we should be able to finish up fairly quickly with that. So we'll be back in just a few minutes here. In fact, 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Cheers.
Hey, hi, my name is John Mark, aka Sublimator Warrior, and I would like to welcome you to Smoke Signal in Tyndinaga.
One dab make your whole dome drip sweat. One dab make the homies all dip set. One dab, only really need one dab. One dab.
Smoke Signal is a medical dispensary where you can get all your products and needs.
Start vaping a whole bunch. Might just start laying off the blunts. God. Ooey, ooey, gooey, that's a sticky dab. Sticky dab. Might just have to put this one on Instagram. Go and hold it in, feel it in your ribs.
So come and check us out in Tyndinaga. 55 Highway 49 in Tyndinaga. It's on the res, and we're open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week.
Enjoy the show, man.
And we're back from our medication session live on Ganja News Updates here on NOK Network.
That's right. And we have another set of stories coming at you making cannabis news. So let's get at it. We're going to get right at it here right now. So welcome back, everyone. And we are going to drop one of our stories for the second half. We're going to just cover two stories in the second half here. They're both of them are not too long. But this first one here is coming to us from Cannabis Now. And this was posted on November 17th, 2025. Guardians of Ganja, the cannabis insurance company covering your grass. This Montana-based insurance agency with nationwide reach is standing out for their genuine interest in building relationships and helping customers mitigate their risk and build a successful business. Even though the American cannabis industry became a multi-billion-dollar industry years ago, a decent number of insurance companies are still hesitant to work with the cannabis businesses, whether it's due to the federally prohibited status surrounding cannabis or certain internal policies among the larger insurance providers that dictate which risks will be insured. The process of finding a quality and reliable insurance provider for licensed cannabis businesses can be quite arduous, especially with the multi-million-dollar cultivation and manufacturing operation setups and subsequent wholesale transactions that are equally lucrative and costly. Having dedicated and thorough insurance policies in place is now beyond necessity. Luckily for those cannabis businesses, Guardians of Ganja is a top-tier insurance agency with a memorable name whose operations and robust policies are created and tailored specifically to the very necessary and precise requirements of those cannabis businesses. One of the best things about cannabis is its ability to free your mind from the constraints of life, says Jason Ashman, co-owner of the agency solely focused on the cannabis industry. After some research, we found the industry was grossly underserved. Guardians of Ganja started with the desire to find something no one else was doing, something that was equally unique, challenging, and something that we wholeheartedly believe in. The agency's primary location of Billings, Montana, is certainly a preferable one from both a cannabis and agricultural standpoint. The state legalized adult use back in 2020 for a second time and has had a vibrant adult use market for well over 3 years, surpassing $1 billion in total sales at the end of 2024. Wow. There's a clickable link for that information there. Similarly, the state's agricultural industry is nothing short of massive, being a major producer of cattle and several varieties of wheat. Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
It is cool. It is cool. But I get the whole, like, it's illegal federally still in the States, right? So, like, as much as these companies are operating and it's okay in their areas federally, no one wants to touch them. So they're in a shit show too, right?
I know, right?
Yeah. A specialty cannabis insurance company. Prior to entering the insurance industry, Guardians of Ganja's second co-owner, Dalton Knutson, held a variety of interesting and honorable positions, including everything from selling solar panels to bravely serving as a firefighter. Unfortunately, his diagnosis of Crohn's disease from his childhood worsened, and after major surgery, he had to resign from his role as a firefighter. But it was after this that my belief in cannabis became stronger. The more I experimented with different treatment methods, Knutson said, it became something I wholeheartedly believed in and supported. Knutson soon teamed up with Ashman, who over 8 years of experience in the insurance industry. While they both share a passion for the plant, Ashman's hands-on insurance experience combined with Knutson's entrepreneurial, service-oriented nature gave them the edge. We both realized the market was underserved, Knutson explains, expressing how they truly have a desire to help cannabis-related companies protect what they have built. With the clever tagline, "Cover your grass for a greener tomorrow," the services offered by Guardians of Ganja include policies that have been uniquely designed for every different plant-touching sector of the cannabis industry, along with auxiliary businesses, everything from cultivation to manufacturing to retail to vital testing labs, even lesser risk policies for landlords with cannabis exposure. From the intricacies and detailed coverage options provided by their policies, it's clear that the team of Guardian of Ganja has several years experience working directly with the nascent yet heavily regulated industry. With liability coverages alone, so many common circumstances and situations that arise in compliant cannabis operations would be insured. A full spectrum of services is offered, from general liability to product liability and the very crucial professional liability.
Right.
Yeah.
What's covered by Guardians of Ganja? Some other very worthwhile sectors of successful cannabis operations covered through Guardian of Ganja's policies are product deliveries of all varieties, as well as the transportation vehicles themselves. All types of deliveries, from individual home deliveries to large-scale deliveries, from cultivation facilities to dispensaries. Given how heavily monitored and documented every single cannabis delivery is, via platforms like Metric by state regulators, regardless of size, the Guardians of Ganja team ensures that every element of the delivery process is diligently ensured, is of utmost importance. Even crop insurance, a vital safeguard that protects farmers' investments from unexpected disasters, is available through Guardians of Ganja. Every single stage in the cultivation process is covered, from vegetation and harvest to the pivotal drying and curing stages. We pride ourselves in creating personal connections and relationships with our clients to not only be their agent, but a trusted confidant and partner that has their best interest at heart, Knutson says with pride. as the American cannabis industry evolves and expands at a more rapid pace than just about any other industry. The experienced team at Guardians of Ganja is committed to staying up to date on all those constant changes. Along with this, we are continuously educating ourselves on the intricacies of the industry to ensure our recommendations are well informed and knowledge based. It's our belief that putting the needs of the clients over anything else is always a win in the end, Knudsen explains. To sum things up, GOG means much more than just insurance. It's real people with real experiences with cannabis that want to genuinely make a difference, both personally and business-wise. So it sounds like a great business, but as you said, it sounds like a great group of people there too. And but as you said, they're operating still within federal legislation that says this is all illegal.
Right. So they're providing insurance, which could be seen maybe as money laundering in the grand scheme of things. You know what I mean? Because they technically are providing insurance to illegal businesses, which would, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't even want to like try my hand at that right now down there, because I know. Big jail time still down there for that sort of crap.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand being just their state, but they provide services nationwide.
Right.
So I'm not sure how that quite works.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to follow that as it goes.
Right. So anyways, we got another one last story here for today, and this is a short one. So I'll let you start this one off if you don't mind.
Yeah, this one comes to us from the hempgazette.com. Thousands more cannabis studies published in 2025. And this was written by Jillian Jelimison, December 8th of this year. The body of scientific cannabis research continues to grow rapidly in 2025, with more than 4,000 studies published during this year for the fifth consecutive year. According to the results of a keyboard search of the National Library of Medicine PubMed Gov site by Normal, researchers have published more than 37,000 scientific papers on cannabis over the last decade. In all, more than 70% of all peer-reviewed scientific papers about marijuana have been published in the past 10 years, and over 90% of this literature has been published since 2002, says Normal. As of writing this, PubMed.gov cites over 53,000 papers on marijuana dating back to 1840. Wow, that's insane.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah, that's a lot. And like, to go back to 1840, I mean, this is like, that's some crazy research that's already been done. So why do we have to keep doing all these fucking studies? Make it make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
To see the results for yourself, try this search on PubMed. And there's a link there for people to go to PubMed, I guess. Additional filters are available on the results page for narrowing down the studies. Among the first papers on cannabis ever to be published were a series of articles by William Brooke O'Shaughnessy in 1842 describing the use of hemp for treating conditions such as muscular spasms in children. And in 1845, Jean-Jacques Moreau de Tours published research on the effects of cannabis on the mind, with a focus on treating mental disorders. From 1843 to 1966, there were only around 211 papers published, but there was a surge in the 1960s and into the mid-70s with close to 3,000 papers. Publishing then dropped off again until the beginning of this century and accelerated from around 2020. Because in Canada here, we became legal for recreational in 2018.
Right.
I believe it's 2018. Yeah. Today, one of the issues holding back regulatory and other progress on cannabis are the constant calls for more research. Kicking can down the road. or more research kicking can down the road. Commenting on this continuing mindset, Normal's Deputy Director Paul Armentano repeated his related thoughts from last year, stating, it is time for politicians and others to stop assessing cannabis through the lens of what we don't know and instead start engaging in evidence-based discussions about marijuana and marijuana reform policies that are indicative of all that we do know. However, just because there is so much research now available, it doesn't mean consensus has been achieved on a number of issues. A recent study, and there's a clickable link there, analyzing randomized clinical trials revealed the considerable conflict that remains regarding the clinical benefits and otherwise of medicinal cannabis. So
interesting.
Even at the end of this, they're still saying that there's disagreement among the studies.
Right. And I think, I mean,
who's paying for what? Who's paying for what?
Exactly.
Study?
Who funded that study? What was that study actually about? What were they looking for in that study? You know, like there's so many variables. But I mean, at the end of the day, I can almost guarantee they're going to say in 99% of those studies that it's not addictive, because we kind of know that, that it does help people. You know, like it's not as harmful as like some of the other things that are floating around out there. So really, at the end of the day, alcohol is the evil that they should be going after, and you know, the harder stuff, not cannabis. It's totally different. It's a league of its own.
Free the plant, right? Free it.
Absolutely.
Let's make it free.
Yeah. I mean, it's been used for many, 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 many centuries by many different cultures for many different things. It was prescribed again back in the day. I mean, they used to prescribe cannabis oil to people for pain, for sleep, for, you know, psychosis or whatever. You know, there were all sorts of things they gave people cannabis prescriptions for back, you know, I mean.
Exactly. Right. Hopefully we'll get back to that. But in the meantime, we'll continue doing what we're doing here, giving you guys the news. So we got one more week left of Ganja News Update this year. Next week, last week before the break. Yeah. And I guess I'll also just give a quick announcement here before we do rest of our lines. I'll make another announcement before the end of the show next week as well. But I am leaving the network, unfortunately. My health issues over the past few years have taken their toll a bit, and I'm taking a step back for right now. I'm not sure who's coming in to replace me here on Ganja News Update as of yet.
I know, I'm sad. I know. Hopefully you'll be able to come back.
Pardon?
Hopefully you'll be coming back.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know right now. Right now, I just need to focus on me and having a stressless as possible life with no schedule, no itinerary. Just get up and do what I need to do when I want to do it, and not have to worry about anything else, type of thing. If I need to lie down, that type of stuff.
True that.
But hopefully my health will return in due time.
Yeah. But, and then you can take baby steps.
Right. So anyways, we will see you all guys next week. So thank you for joining us this week on Ganja News Update on NOK Network, and for tuning into our video podcast on NOK Network's Rumble and YouTube pages, as well as our social media sites.
That's right, folks. We hope you've enjoyed your update today of mainstream media coverage of new cannabis news and information from around the globe.
And many thanks to our sponsors for making this show possible. And thank you to my joint host, right over here, Tara Simpson, and to you, our listeners, for joining us here each week on Education Mondays with Ganja News Update on NOK Network. So we'll see you again next week, folks. Monday, December the 15th for the last Ganja News Update of 2025. And until then, good night, everyone, and take care. Bye for now.
Ganja me meditation, ganja my brain. Ganja weed take away my stress and strain. Ganja me meditation, ganja in my brain. Marijuana take away my stress and pain. Ganja me meditation, ganja in my brain. Marijuana take away the stress and pain. Ganja is the medication, ganja is the cure. Police of them a fight the marijuana for sure. Purify me heavens and they make me feel pure. And the way the cali we be bring it on door. Ganja in the meditation, ganja in my clothes. No offense, I'm fucking another one around you. Ganja in the daily, ganja me currency. Ganja is the currency and daily pay. Give me the revelation, it's not to get too much credit and going. So let the talk